Two docks, one bot. This is the SwitchBot S10 vacuum and mopping robot, and I'm going to give you the good, the bad and the ugly from someone who bought it and backed it with their own money. So let's start with what I like about it. It's got powerful suction, some of the best mopping tech out there, thanks to its cylindrical roller mop which cleans itself as it goes, and it dries itself at its dock. It's got a rubber anti-tangle brush. I only have to worry about the dust bag roughly every 3 months. And I never have to empty or refill the water, thanks to its secondary water dock which can be plumbed into your mains water supply, which does not require its own power source. And even I, mostly successfully, managed to fit the water dock all by myself.
Oh no, that's not working.
The camera-based obstacle avoidance is pretty good now, and I really like the fact that it recently started showing items it's identified on the app's map, so you can tell when it sees something and work out what it might currently get stuck on. I say currently because it has seen some updates which have made it notably better than it was on day one, and I assume that they will continue coming and improving. And as of a recent update, it now supports Matter directly without the need for their hub. And most impressively, it does everything I've mentioned so far whilst being cheaper than most of the comparable robots. So what's the catch? Well, my first annoyance is that its anti-tangle brush doesn't get tangled up with hair, but it does seem to stop completely on anything remotely solid of about the size of a skittle, which is probably the most common reason I find it stuck. But my biggest beef with this robot is that it's marketed as maintenance free. And spoiler alert, it's not. I think what SwitchBot actually mean is that you don't really have to do all of the usual maintenance that robot vacuums of this type need regularly, like filling up and emptying the water station or the dust bag and cleaning the mop pad, because it does almost all of that itself. But what they don't really advertise is the fact that you have to maintain other parts of its system which other bots don't really have. For example, it's got a clever roller mop which cleans itself as it goes along, so you have to clean this gutter where that dirt ends up from the cleaning blade. And it's also got this tiny water tank which fills up with dirty water and it expels that through its water dock, but that ends up absolutely bogging and needs to clean more often than any other part of the device. That is if you don't want it stinking. And the saddest part in my experience is that I often end up having to manually clean out the main dust compartment in the vacuum because it doesn't all come out into the dock. And while this is quite common on robot vacuums, it upsets me more on this device because SwitchBot made a fuss about how this path to the suction dock is dead straight, which should avoid this happening. However, I unfortunately can't say whether this always happens, because this little flap inside my dust compartment broke pretty early on and might not help this situation. But it does also result in it sometimes being very difficult to remove this compartment due to the dust hanging out of the flap. Now, it may sound like I'm quite negative on the S10, but I'm merely trying to highlight that it does have some downsides, and you shouldn't be making a purchase this large thinking it's going to be perfect. Anything with mechanical parts will need some maintenance. The sheer amount of things that it does, as well as it does, at this price point is super impressive. And when the bits of maintenance that it does need are kept up with, it does a really good job of cleaning just about anywhere in my home. So as always, if you'd like to buy one, you can do so from the links on my website. I would highly recommend the extra cleaning pack, as I found it to be really useful to have the extra dust bags up front and the extra roller mop in case anything super dirty gets mopped up. So you can swap it out for a clean one and soak the really dirty one. But anyway, thanks for watching and for supporting the channel if you do. And as always, remember, home is where the smart is.